Hi there. The global gaslighting that has occurred since the 7th of October must be corrected, and it must be corrected now. As a Jew and a human being, as a mother and as a lifelong social activist for minorities, all minorities, irrespective of colour, creed or religious observance, the time for misinformation, disinformation and delusion must end. Jews are indigenous to the tiny country, no bigger than New Jersey, that is called Israel. Israel has a right to exist. Israel has a right to defend its citizenry and its borders. Israelis have a right to not be woken up by terrorists and smoked out of their safe rooms and slaughtered in their beds. Israeli girls and women have a right to not be raped next to the corpses of their friends or massacred like lambs in the fields of a dance party that was only ever about championing love and peace. Israeli babies have a right to be born without being carved out of their mothers' wombs and murdered before they can take their first breath. And you know what? Palestinian mothers also deserve that. Any human being deserves that. But the IDF does not and never will perpetrate that type of inconceivable barbarism. The IDF forewarns the Palestinian people of an imminent incursion. Why? Because butchery and savagery is not who we are. It's not what we are. It never has been, and it never will be. The standard to which Israel is held has never in the history of the world been applied to any other country. Where is the woke brigade demonstrating on behalf of the young girls who've been raped? Where is the woke brigade demonstrating on behalf of the babies that have been kidnapped and beheaded in front of their parents? Where is the woke brigade calling for the elderly and the disabled to be returned to their homes and nursing homes? The abject insanity on display has reached such a delusion point that a group entitled Queers for Palestine are joining the Hamas demonstrations the world over. Do you have any idea what would be done to the queers of Palestine if they found themselves in Gaza? Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Is it perfect? No. Is any country perfect? No. But I'll tell you this. When Israeli Arabs sit on the bench of the Supreme Court of Israel, when Israeli Arabs are some of the country's finest medical professionals working in harmony with their Jewish colleagues, when Israeli Arabs lead political parties in Israel, when 10 months of peaceful protests about judicial reform showed the world just how alive and well democracy in Israel is, then I think that those who decry Israel as being an apartheid regime need a very rudimentary lesson on what constitutes a democracy. Not all of you who listen to this is a mother, but all of you come from one. Can you imagine having your baby, your child, your only reason for being, ripped from your arms and taken across the border into the most savage and brutal regime? And that's the best case scenario. Hamas don't seek peace. Hamas don't even seek peace for land. Hamas is a brutish, unconscionable, nefarious, demonic terrorist organisation. Hamas is ISIS on steroids. Its objectives are pure and simple: the complete extermination of the Jewish people. From the river to the sea is not a euphemism. It's their KPI. And if using their own people as human shields is palatable to you, then I have nothing that I can possibly say that's going to change your mind. Palestinians deserve to be liberated, but not from Israel. Because an inconvenient truth that's been largely ignored by the international reporting community is that Israel pulled out of Gaza in 2005. 2005, 18 years ago, when the late Prime Minister, Ariel Sharon, probably Israel's most hawkish Prime Minister, ordered that every single Jew residing in Gaza was, if necessary, to be forcibly removed, with Jewish bodies even exhumed from the cemeteries. Israel left the best of its industrialism behind for the Gazan people so that the desert could bloom. Within 24 hours, every Israeli established greenhouse left for the Palestinians was destroyed. The promise of building Gaza up into the Singapore of the Middle East evaporated when the Palestinians living in Gaza voted for Hamas in 2006. Another election hasn't been held since, not in 17 years. Does that tell you something? Because if it doesn't, perhaps you might like to introspect for a moment and discern if your malice towards Jews is so systemic, so primal, so embedded in your nervous system that reason and logic and truth simply can't penetrate. Jews love peace. Jews seek peace. Jews love life. Hamas does not. Hamas wants to finish off Hitler's attempt to wipe the Jewish people from the face of the earth. That means any Jew. The Reform and Reconstructionist Jew, the Orthodox Jew, the atheist Jew, the anti-Zionist Jew, the Jews born in Arab countries, the Jewish doctors that have saved countless Palestinian women and children in Israeli hospitals. In the eyes of Hamas, we are not people. We are not human. We are not worthy of life. We are only worthy of being destroyed. If you'd be mortified at the thought of an ISIS rally on September 12th, 2001, amidst the carnage and debris of the collapsed World Trade Center towers, then stop yourselves. Educate yourselves. The chants around the world, including in my own country on the steps of the Sydney Opera House, fills me with not only dread, terror, and abject disgust, but in truth, it's nothing compared to the cacophonous silence from those who know better. The memory of some of you is very dim. It was only 2 weeks ago that the most egregious forms of barbarism were perpetrated on innocent civilians in Israel, civilians of every nationality. It didn't take more than 2 minutes for the tide to turn against Israel, demanding proportionality and death to Jews. And this is before one Israeli boot was on the ground in Gaza. Well, that's not entirely true. There were more than 200 broken and bloodied and maimed and disfigured Israeli hostages in Gaza by then. The trauma of what Israel faced on the 7th of October and continues to face as loved ones are being buried and coroners are trying to give parents clarity with only the smallest amount of DNA remaining of their children, their mothers, their sons, their brothers, their grandfathers, their grandmothers is nothing short of a horror movie. Except it's not a movie. It's real life, and it's pure and unadulterated evil. I went to a rally today in Melbourne, Australia. No one chanted, "Gas the Palestinians." No one wished harm to come to one single Palestinian civilian. So what did we do at said rally? We sang songs of peace and begged for our children, our grandmothers, our infants, our toddlers, our disabled, our infirm, our Holocaust survivors who've been kidnapped into Gaza over 2 weeks ago to be brought home now. You want to boycott my show because I'm a truth teller? Be my guest. But this is not 1939, as much as it feels like it. And I, together with good people, Jews and non-Jews alike, across the world, will not be silent while my people are being annihilated, while many rejoice in glee, calling the horrors of the 7th of October exhilarating, while university campuses all over the United States and Europe are chanting for the destruction of Jews with complete impunity from university administrators. Thank you for your time. May God, the God of Jews, the God of Christians, and the God of Muslims the same God. Bring them home now.